Well, for a little more on this, we're now joined by Vuyo Zungula, who's the president of the African Transformation Movement, the ATM. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program. I guess you weren't satisfied with the president's response today.
I think all citizens were not satisfied because the president blatantly undermined Parliament and by so doing undermined the people of South Africa who elected members of Parliament to hold the executive accountable and ensure that the executive is always kept in check when it comes to their actions. The president, I think, let me put it out there in terms of the process that happens in Parliament wherever oral questions are done. Parties indicate to the NA table responsible for the questions what questions they are going to pose, and the NA table responds to say edit here or we're going to change it here. And then once it gets to be approved by the NA table, it gets to be sent to the president at least 2 weeks before the time that he needs to respond via the oral sitting, which was today. Now, for him to come, having 2 weeks looked at the questions, also after Parliament has satisfied itself that it is a question that there's no legal reason or constitutional reasons that actually prohibit the president from answering. He then comes and he says he's not going to answer based on the legal advice that he has gotten. So we're dealing with a person that is blatantly undermining the Parliament, undermining the institutions in our country, undermining the people of our country. Remember, Peter, there was an issue with the public protector where he requested an extension of about 14 days. Again, with the Reserve Bank, even the Reserve Bank, he also requested an extension even there. So we're talking about someone who clearly knows that he's violated the law, he's broken the law. That is why he does not want to account and answer to all of the questions that are posed on this issue. And lastly, it is very important for us or the citizens to understand that our role as members of Parliament, as the Constitutional Court judgment had said in the previous term, that we need to hold the executive accountable. The Parliament can't sleep and allow the executive to do as they please. Therefore, for the president to actually undermine us as members of Parliament, we're not taking it lightly at all.
Is it more a question of timing rather than outright refusal? Because he says, I will account. I don't mind accounting. I just want the law enforcement agencies to be given the time to do what they need to do. He's not saying that he will never answer, that he's running away from the story. I think it's timing for him, rather.
Look, Peter, it's very ironic that he suddenly has faith in the law enforcement agencies, because in 2020 February, when there was theft in that farm, he never formally and legally involved the law enforcement agencies. So his sudden Damascus moment where he suddenly believes in the law enforcement agencies, it is suspect, it is not genuine, he's trying to run away from it. Rule 89 of Parliament only states that issues that are before the courts are issues that are sub judice and therefore cannot be spoken out in Parliament. As we speak here now, there is no legal impediment that prohibits the president from answering the questions. Now, he can't be saying it is a matter of time because he's had 2 years and some months from February 2020. And secondly, he spoke in the ANC conference where he spoke about the one that was in Limpopo. Clearly, he respects the ANC people, so he can speak to them and let them know what he thinks about the matter. But the people of South Africa elect via the Parliament that has been elected by the people of South Africa, he refuses to account to them. Therefore, we're dealing with someone that is undermining us. So it is not a matter of time, because you need to account. If it was a matter of time and it was a matter of him actually cooperating with all law enforcement agencies, he would have cooperated with Parliament, with the process of Parliament, which is today's question and answer. He would have complied or cooperated with the public protector. The same thing with the Reserve Bank. He has not done to all of those institutions. Therefore, we're dealing with someone who is being evasive and is avoiding accountability at all means.
What about the argument that he's put forward that he's getting advice from his legal team not to say anything at this time? He is a president, but he's also a citizen, and citizens have the right to not say anything on the advice of their legal representatives. We see that all the time.
Well, that advice clearly shows that, you know, if you did not commit a crime, then obviously you'll always be advised to keep quiet. In fact, if you committed a crime, you'll always be advised to keep quiet, because the more you speak, the more you expose yourself. So that is a given. In fact, by him not answering, he's confirming that indeed he's broken the laws of our country. However, that is not the case, because the legal advice must be informed by the Constitution. Any legal advice that he may have must be informed by the laws of our country. Now, as a president of the country, he is obligated to answer questions in Parliament, and today he has blatantly denied or refused to answer those questions. And like I said earlier, there is no legal impediment. This legal advice is not saying, because you have been charged, therefore this is going to be in the courts, therefore this you need to keep quiet because you are going to violate Rule 89 of Parliament. There is no rule or a legal stand that he's having that is prohibiting him from accounting to Parliament. The reason why Parliament is important, it is to ensure that you do not have an executive that can break laws, abuse their power, and then hide behind non-existent legal advice. So that is why we believe that the president of the country is undermining and in fact destroying the credibility of the institutions in our country, starting from the most important institution, which is Parliament, which is the representatives of the people of South Africa.
Based on what's happened so far and how much he's been willing to share or not share, do you think that it's enough for him to step down?
He should have stepped down as soon as that thing became public knowledge, because he's violated so much laws. I'll start with one. Section 34(1) of PRECA states that everyone, particularly public representatives, have an obligation to report any corruption or theft that exceeds 100,000 rands. We know that is not the case. Section 96(2) of the Constitution states that the president or members of the executive must not put themselves in a position where they are going to abuse state resources for private gain. Here in Phala Phala, you've got a private matter, which is theft on his farm. He instructs someone who is employed by the state to guard him as a person, because the head of the protection unit does not have the mandate to do criminal investigation. He only has a mandate to protect him as a president. Therefore, there's an abuse of power when you utilize someone who is employed to protect the president to criminally investigate, particularly because this matter was not reported to the police, and there is no existing case number. As we speak now, there is no case number. Therefore, in order to safeguard the reputation of our country, the integrity of our country, he should have resigned to allow an independent investigation whereby all law enforcement agencies will not fear to investigate a sitting president. And also, if he's a man of his word, you'll remember that in January 2021, after the ANC celebrations, he said if he's embroiled in a scandal, he will step aside and resign. He is embroiled now in a scandal and is not resigning. Clearly, we're dealing with someone who abused state power, and he's continually abusing state power, including the process of today, in order to avoid accountability.
All right. I know that as opposition parties, you'd agreed to find a way to force his hand and hold him accountable. How far have you progressed with that initiative?
The Section 89 process is but one of those processes. The issue of the motion of no confidence, it is also another process that we are embarking on. However, I think what is critical that we need to take out from today is that South Africa has got a president that undermines the people of South Africa, because the people of South Africa are governed through parliament that regulates how the executive needs to account to the people of South Africa via parliament. Now, to have a president that will come outright and blatantly say he is not going to answer, meaning he undermines the rules of parliament, he undermines the role and the institution of parliament by not accounting to parliament. He can't be trusted, he can't be taken seriously. He can't be coming now and say, let us respect the law enforcement agencies, whereas he's undermining the institution of parliament. You'll remember, Peter, that in our country, we've got all of these institutions that need to operate independently. The reason why parliament is critical on this matter, it is because none of us in the opposition parties are dependent.
All right, okay, it looks like we've lost Mr. Zungula there, but I think he had shared his thoughts with us, very upset. He says that citizens generally across the country not satisfied with the position that the president has taken on answering important questions about the robbery that took place at his farm. All right, we'll leave that for the time being.